Welcome back to another Tuesday Tip at 2 with the Goldbergs. This time I'm going to be advocating for the full and immediate reopening of our courts of all sorts. That rhymes, but it wasn't my intent. The pandemic closed down society as we know it. Industries and schools and people's ability to go out to the park and to travel and to visit with their neighbors, etc. But it also shut down the judicial system for a few months. Everyone was in total pandemonium, but it made do. Lawyers found a way to get going again. Courts reopened via Zoom. Hearings, i.e. a lawyer requesting XYZ relief from a judge long before trial, began in earnest and then in massive volumes. And it's estimated that throughout the country, there have just been already millions of Zoom-based hearings that have occurred, which is incredibly helpful for a case. However, jury trials are stuck. I know of one single judge locally, Judge Sandil, that conducted a jury trial via Zoom. It was a fascinating experiment, and God bless him and his staff and those jurors for participating in it. It's just not a completely realistic option for getting through as many trials as we need. Here's something very worrying. In the Houston Chronicle, there was an article discussing this very issue. They stated that throughout the year of 2020, the entire year in Harris County, that is dozens of district and county courts, there were only 52 jury trials. Why is that a problem, Danny? Because the average before that was approximately 1,600 jury trials on an annual basis over the few years before that. Keep in mind that in Harris County and some of the surrounding counties, we're still dealing with an epic backlog of trials that never have occurred or couldn't occur because of the aftermath of Hurricane Harvey, which knocked out the entire criminal court building and thus smushed all of those courts, the criminal courts, into the civil court building. So judges were sharing their spaces, civil judges sharing their court offices, buildings, etc., with criminal courts. So jury trials were already delayed, and now all the more so because of the closures. Why can't jury trials take place? Jurors generally need to be there in person to hear the evidence, witnesses, testimony, for the whole process to occur. It is very much involved. While it's not physical, and because the jurors are sitting there and there are the attorneys over there and the judge is up there and the staff is over there, etc., everyone needs to be in the same room, hearing each other, listening to each other, seeing each other's faces, facial features, etc. There's a certain tempo to it, and you cannot have interruptions. The jurors cannot be interrupted by a cute little dog coming through across the screen, or someone opening up the door, like the wife or the child being like, "Oh, sorry, honey," and then walking out. A trial has to take place. It's got to be efficient. Things have to move. You can't keep people's attention for a long period of time, and it's unfair to ask a juror to hang around even longer because another one had IT problems, etc. So, local judges, and this is not just in Harris County, this is all across Texas and all across the country, have been making some valiant efforts. Some judges more than others, and some counties more than others, just saying, to get jury trials moving again. Locally, our own judges, the administration of the county, of the county judges, negotiated with NRG. This is the monster stadium, for those of you from out of town, that hosts the Houston Texans, the rodeo, and other gigantic events, to use the arena space to hold voir dire, or as we say in Texas, voir dire. So all the jurors would come on in, have a ton of socially distanced space to sit out, and people could talk through microphones, and you could go through the process of jury selection and then bring them on into the courtroom. It's a good process, and a lot of these judges deserve a ton of credit for even getting those 52 trials during 2020 and however many have occurred in 2021. But it's just not enough. Why is this a problem that there's this backlog? Justice delayed is justice denied. Think about the wrongfully accused defendant, criminal defendant that needs his day in court that's not happening. Or worse, the actually rightfully accused defendant, a true-to-life criminal that's out on bail while his victim suffers or is dead. And this guy just isn't going to trial. Or the corporate wrongdoer that screwed over this and that victim on over there, and they're just getting away with it. The fraudster that isn't facing justice for the crimes that he committed. Or the negligent parent whose custody is intact the same because there can't be a jury trial and he's demanded one. These are real life problems that are only compounded beyond that 1,600 or so trials that didn't occur further. There's a saying, the cliche, settlement on courtroom steps. Broadly speaking, it's very true. The pressure of trial forces settlements and plea deals galore. It happens all the time. For every one of those 1,600 trials or so that didn't occur, you have to envision that there are dozens per each one of those that would have settled, but did not because there was no pressure of trial. It just didn't happen. So we have 1,600 backlog cases, plus a ton more that just aren't getting settled. This is a real problem. What's the fix? Listen, I'm just a simple caveman lawyer. What do I know? I would recommend, though, some of the following points. 1, God, show up to jury duty when you're called. Do not use this pandemic as an excuse anymore. 2, to that point, go get vaccinated. 3, give political support. This is public, loud, vocal support for our judges to get roaring with these trials again, and on an interpersonal basis, tell others that you know, show up to jury duty if you're called. This is super important. This is a real problem. 4, maybe use some of that epic amount of stimulus money to outfit some of the courts with more protective gear and ability to host people better. I don't know. Perhaps rent out additional space that might not be conventional courtroom space. Big halls are available in hotels all over the country that aren't being used for weddings and other conferences and such to host more trials. Perhaps hire associate judges that can handle hearings while the main judges are dealing with the actual trials themselves. These are just some rough ideas. The general point is this: we have to reopen the floodgates and get as many trials done as possible. And I say this as a guy that truly, I don't like trials that much. I think I've done all right. I think my clients are pretty generally happy with them, but it fills me with so much stress and anxiety before it happens. It's such a rough, tumble sort of thing that we do, and yet it's so necessary, not just for the attorneys to make money, but for human beings to receive justice. That's your Tuesday tip at 2 with the Goldbergs, and we'll see you next week or the week thereafter. Who knows? We'll learn. Bye.